It's 2024 and as a Yugioh fan, I'm wondering what's in store for the franchise. Though I know that Rush Duels don't seem to be on the radar. Yeah, Rush Duels, hard to believe now it's been over 4 years since we first got our look at the concept. Rush Duels are an alternate format with a completely unique card pool using a simplified game board and monster mechanics that allows you to draw a hand of 5 cards every turn and normal summon as many times as you want. Debuting in Japan in 2020 with the corresponding anime Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s, Rush Duels were actually off to a decent start. A new experience for Yu-Gi-Oh! That's allowed to grow and develop independently from the main Master Duels with a brand new and very beautiful card layout and new monsters. Of course, because of this, standard cards and Rush Duel cards cannot mix. So it's honestly pretty crazy that Yu-Gi-Oh! Effectively has 2 separate card games that they're producing alongside each other, though they've been able to coexist effectively for nearly 4 years now, and it's never even been released internationally. We do not have access to it. Alright, that's not entirely true. In 2021, Western audiences were introduced to the Rush Duel video game Dawn of the Battle Royale. It's a neat little game having a single player campaign with some explorable environments and voice acting from the characters. The only problem is that custom deck building was locked behind either completing the main story or using the Konami code in some arbitrary location. Either way, this was the first time Rush Duels were officially playable worldwide. We never got the content updates that Japan later got. The following year in 2022, the Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's anime actually began airing dubbed on American television. Sure, it would have been great if we had the sub as a simulcast like the previous anime, but I'd still count this as some kind of win, though I do wish we could have like survey data from the actual intended audience for dubbed anime in the West. I'm curious how the kids who this is actually marketed to see it, in fact just all dubbed anime for a younger skewing audience in general. At least from my perspective, I enjoyed the show and the Western marketing has been pretty neat, I think. Anyway, the most recent news is that Rush Duels have actually come to Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. Now that the anime is definitively officially available outside of Japan, they're able to do a lot more with integrating the Rush Duel world into the rest of the franchise than the video games. However, we still do not have an official physical card game with tournament support that we would expect. Again, you can play Rush Duels through the video games, fan-made simulators supported, and heck, if you even wanted to, you could just get your hands on physical Japanese cards. But it feels strange to have the sole basis of this whole thing, you know, the actual physical card game, being completely absent, despite the fact we have all this other media for it. But the thing is, I feel like this isn't just a case of them being lazy or feeling like we don't deserve it or anything. I think that they just might be genuinely afraid it would flop in the Western world. When Speed Duels were introduced, they had an interesting prospect, a similarly rebooted version of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game that tied into the recently released Duel Links video game. It was a way to bring the mobile players into the TCG and also give TCG players an alternate format. The advantage was that while Speed Duels had their own card pool designated by a special stamp, the physical Speed Duel cards could still be used in the full Master Duel version of the TCG. If you came across these cards but didn't care for Speed Duels, you could still just use them in the regular game. Though that isn't to say they had it easy the whole time. When Speed Duels first came out, they tried to make the products just like the standard game with starter decks and booster sets specifically for it. That didn't work and not nearly enough people bought them, mostly because even though they were brand new cards added to this format, the appeal of having the cards usable in both versions of the game was drained because they were basically booster sets composed entirely of reprints. Nowadays they add to Speed Duels by releasing these small boxes containing like 5 decks that serve as an expansion, but are also really accessible as like a standalone game that can be purchased and enjoyed by several people, all while having that nostalgic packaging that's guaranteed to snag some Yugi boomers while they're buying groceries. But even then, these things still warm the shelves. I'm not complaining though. I think this is probably the best way to go about things and in all honesty makes for some of the best individual Yu-Gi-Oh! Products. But the fact is that still not enough people are buying them. I see several of these boxes literally every time I'm at Target and I know they're like half price on Amazon. And I imagine a good amount of people who do play Rush Duel seriously will still just buy singles online. Bringing physical Rush Duel cards to the market here would just mean a repeat of Speed Duels. If they don't produce full-on booster sets, they're going to miss out on a lot of those potential sales, and at this point there's a lot to catch up on anyway, so they would need to do something about that. If they release little boxes like this as their own expansions, sure it would be most accessible and would probably make for less unsold product, but they see how even with Speed Duels they just aren't grabbing the new consumers that they need. Add in the fact that Rush Duel cards wouldn't be allowed to mix with the other cards, and that alienates a good amount of TCG players. Sure, I have no doubt that some of them would want to try out Rush Duels and would actually purchase it, but there's still a large amount of people who just wouldn't care. A lot of people who really wanted the same game with a different pace have found that in things like Edison format, which has recently been officially supported as a side event at YCS's. It all comes down to the fact that Rush Duels aren't just another Yu-Gi-Oh! Product, they're an entirely separate card game. And right now with the flood of brand new card games in the past 3 years, it just doesn't make sense for them. They already have a snag as one of the big 3 card games with Master Duels, so why would they release Rush Duels when it would would have to compete with things like One Piece, Digimon, and not to mention all the other indie TCGs that are really picking up. But those are just my thoughts. I don't have any industry knowledge, I'm just talking about what I've seen. Though I do hope that someday they cave and give us like a little box for every half season of the Rush Duel anime, just because I want to see what these English cards would look like and I would really like to own some. Otherwise they better just give us the content updates for the video game and give us a sequel too. At the very least, I guess things are going well in Duel Links, so I've never actually played it, so let me know if that's something I should do. It might even make for some good streams going into the new year. So let me know what you think about the Rush Duel situation and if you have any predictions for what we'll see come out of it for 2024. Anyway, this is GatorX, thank you so much for watching and I'll catch you all later.